Welcome to the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Wednesday, April 17th. This is Gina Palma. Over the last 2 weeks, we've seen precipitation targeted over the northern two-thirds of the Great Basin, and this precipitation, especially across Idaho into western Wyoming, parts of northeast Nevada and northern Utah, has been well above normal. However, much drier conditions have materialized over southern areas of the Great Basin with little, if any, precipitation. Looking at snowfall over the last 72 hours, we've had a storm system moving through the Great Basin over the last day or so, has brought new snowfall to Idaho, Wyoming, and the higher terrain of Utah, along with some lighter amounts over northeast Nevada and the Sierra. Our snowpack is still fairly high across the Great Basin in all areas, but especially over the southern half of the Great Basin. Looking at our current snowpack totals, we're still over 150% of normal over Nevada and Utah and the Sierra, and between 120 and 130% of normal now over Idaho and western Wyoming with this latest new snowfall. The satellite loop from this morning shows this exiting area of low pressure over the eastern half of the Great Basin, which did bring quite a bit of showers and higher elevation snow to the eastern half of the Great Basin over the last day or so, and also quite a bit of lightning activity over eastern Utah yesterday. We also had some fairly good rainfall amounts with these thunderstorms over the eastern half of the state. We will have high pressure now building in over the west coast, which will bring drier and warmer conditions across the Great Basin, pushing temperatures above normal and also keeping fairly sunny skies over much of the region through much of this week. And looking at the weather pattern for later this afternoon, you can see that storm system now moves eastward into the southern Rockies, with again high pressure building in with drier and warmer conditions for the basin. We will have very good dispersion over the eastern half of the region due to northerly winds being fairly breezy behind the storm system today. However, still poor dispersion over parts of the Sierra where winds will be much lighter under the ridge of high pressure. You can see in our transport winds again over the eastern half of the basin, north to northwest winds, gusting between 25 and 35 miles per hour, with much lighter winds over the west side of the basin. Mixing heights will remain moderate to high in most areas and just lower over the far western side of the Great Basin. As we move into Thursday, this ridge pushes further eastward, again with winds decreasing across the region and temperatures warming above normal, with generally sunny skies, only some clouds up in the northern side of the basin in Idaho and Wyoming. Dispersion will also start to deteriorate as these winds decrease. Transport winds on Thursday, again much weaker on Thursday than what we'll see today over the eastern half of the Great Basin, but still a north to northwest wind with wind gusts around 20 miles per hour. Mixing heights will remain highest in the east and the north, and more moderate over the rest of the region. As we move into Friday, this ridge starts to slide a little bit further eastward, with the center now over eastern Utah, and we will have some clouds and potentially some light shower activity moving into the central Idaho mountains, but still generally dry and warm over the rest of the area. Ventilation will also start to improve. We may see some breezier winds, especially over the northern half of the basin as we move through the day on Friday. So again, you can see those winds increase on Friday, really in all areas, but gusts generally between 20 and 25 miles per hour over the northern half of the Great Basin and around 15 to 20 miles per hour in the far south. Mixing heights will remain high region-wide on Friday. Looking at the forecast clearing index for Utah over the next few days, again with those breezy north winds, today we will see high clearing indices in all areas with the exception of the higher terrain of central and northern Utah. But we will see the clearing indices start to decrease as we move into Thursday and those winds decrease and remain more in the moderate range on Friday. Forecast amounts of precipitation over the next few days, again with that next system later this week, we may see some lighter precipitation up generally over central Idaho, possibly even northwest Nevada, but for much of the region we will remain dry as this first system exits today. Winds will increase on Friday out ahead of the next storm system, which will move into the western side of the Great Basin on Saturday. This will increase clouds and showers over the northern half of the Great Basin, possibly even some additional thunderstorm activity, especially over parts of northern Nevada as we move through the day on Saturday. This will also bring some cooler temperatures to the region and still continued breezy winds over the eastern and southern half of the area. Therefore, dispersion will remain fairly good, with the exception of over parts of Idaho and Wyoming, as that precipitation increases and the winds start to decrease as that low moves in. On Sunday, the area of low pressure tracks eastward over the eastern half of the Great Basin, again pushing shower activity mainly across Utah, eastern Nevada, parts of eastern Idaho and Wyoming by Sunday, and we will again see fairly good dispersion in most areas as this low tracks across and northwesterly winds start to increase over the west side of the basin, and still some breezy southwest winds over eastern areas. By Monday, the storm system moves into the Rockies. We again see brief ridging of high pressure, so we will see drier conditions start to materialize, generally north to northwest wind flow, and warming temperatures. By Tuesday, this ridge again starts to push a little bit further east. We may see some clouds in the far north with some lower dispersion over Idaho and Wyoming, but for the most part, warmer temperatures and sunny skies. Precipitation over the 4 to 5 day period, taking us from Saturday through Monday morning, again shows that storm system moving through this weekend, bringing precipitation mainly to Nevada, Utah, and western Wyoming, but also southern Idaho will get some light precipitation, and this will bring some cooler temperatures briefly before warmer and drier conditions return. Looking at the 8 to 14 day outlook, taking us into the end of April, we still see generally warm temperatures over the southern areas and still above normal precipitation over much of the Great Basin, with the exception of the far western side into California, which may start to see a drying trend. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Friday for the latest updates.